right. Thanks, y'all who have showed up to the Clean Energy Olympics webinar. And if you are watching the recording of this, then thanks for catching up. And I hope this little presentation fills in any blanks or any questions that you might have. So to do a super general overview, the Alaska Clean Energy Olympics is an engineering design competition that is put on every year by the Renewable Energy Alaska Project, or REAP, who is who Colleen and I work for. If I know a lot of you have probably had some training or experience with REAP before, if this is your first time, we really try and keep a lot of the activities really place-based and active and really project-based as well. And the Clean Energy Olympics is all about project-based, fun activities for students. So the CEO is a competition. We have 3 different age range categories: 4th grade through 5th grade, 6th through 8th, and 9th through 12th. And really the bulk of what happens for Clean Energy Olympics starts in the classroom, where students are introduced to concepts of wind energy, but also this whole engineering design process, because CEO is really based on students creating things. So once they get kind of the background information about wind energy and why we're doing this activity, students will actually design model wind turbine blades, and they'll test various designs that they've made to see which design maximizes the power output of their model wind turbines. And if students have other ideas, if they don't want to stop at blade design, they can also design other components of the model wind turbine, like bearings and gears. If folks have 3D printers, or other technology, sky's the limit with this stuff. But if everyone's working with different amounts of materials. So at the very basic level, students will be designing wind turbine blades on a pre-built model wind turbine and just testing the blades for power output. So most of that happens, or all of that happens, in the classroom for the most part. Students will then create some sort of presentation that documents their design process, and they'll present it to a panel of judges. And this will happen either virtually or in person. I'll go into the details on that in a little bit. And then all student teams will complete a knowledge test that tests their knowledge of not only wind energy, but other clean energy and kind of climate change knowledge that they may have learned along the way. So in order for coaches to kind of become the experts of this stuff, obviously we don't expect everybody to know wind energy and the principles behind wind turbine blade design. REAP is hosting 2 different workshop opportunities for folks to take. We'll host an in-person workshop in Anchorage. That's 2 Saturdays from today, on the 21st, from 9 to 2. It might not go that long. We'll kind of see how many folks show up and how much we want to tinker with stuff. And if you attend the in-person workshop, we also ask that you attend 2 virtual check-ins with REAP. So you can attend the training either by receiving credit, or you don't have to take the training for credit, but to fulfill the credit hours, we can't just stop the experience after the workshop, because there are other credit hours to get. So a couple ways that we're filling those other credit hours are to attend some virtual check-ins that we'll have before the competition element. And these are just good opportunities for coaches to join us with any questions they may have, and good opportunity to collaborate with other coaches, and maybe they can help answer some questions you have. But we'll also be hosting a virtual workshop with the KidWind organization, and we don't have a date nailed down for that yet, but we're hoping that it'll be in the next few weeks, and that'll be a hybrid workshop. So you'll get a couple videos sent to you that you can watch on your own time that just kind of fill in the blanks of like what wind energy is and connect you to some really great wind energy curriculum that you can use in your classroom. But then we'll have one kind of 2 to 3 hour live virtual meeting with the director of KidWind to actually work with the wind turbine and go through all the design components of that. And then if you're taking the virtual workshop, because it's not as long as the in-person workshop, we'll ask that you attend a couple more of those virtual check-ins before the competition. So no matter how you are attending the workshops, everybody will be introduced to any of the wind energy curriculum that you might need to kind of front load your students. You'll get really familiar with the KidWind model wind turbines that we use. You'll be able to put them together and have some practice at actually designing some blades yourself. Picking up where we left off, we had a brief drop in internet. So yeah, the main takeaway is that everyone who attends the workshops will really focus heavily on the wind turbine model itself and also the testing protocols and just how to test, how to get reliable data with the KidWind turbine, and then kind of what data we should be collecting. So then when it comes time for the actual competition, we have 2 ways for your student teams to participate. We'll be hosting one in-person competition in Palmer on April 1st, and that'll be kind of a full day event. Students will show up, they'll do any last minute changes to their designs that they need to make. And then we'll have a couple wind tunnels set up there. We'll have some judges who are running the wind tunnels. The students will have a couple opportunities to test their designs in the wind tunnel. Students will have some type of presentation for the judges. Kind of think of this as like the typical science fair presentation. A lot of students will bring in like a trifold or a poster of some sort. I think we have had some students use presentations on a computer before, but they'll be doing live face-to-face presentations to their judges. The student teams will participate in an instant challenge, which they won't know ahead of time what this thing is. We'll just kind of throw something at them. They'll have to work together and show how well they work as a team to accomplish some random goal that they can't prepare for. This is the main thing that the virtual competition students won't be doing, is the instant challenge. That's kind of like something we can only really host for the in-person. So it differentiates the in-person from the virtual. And then we'll have a knowledge test right at the end. I know it's everyone's favorite. Right at the end of a fun day is to take a test. But student teams work together to do these tests. And then at the end of the day, we'll kind of tally the scores. We'll give awards and things like that. And then the virtual competition, students do all of their testing in their home school. They'll be collecting data and actually submitting the results from their turbine tests on the KidWind website. And during the trainings, you'll learn what data to collect and how exactly to submit that on the website. And then similarly to the in-person competition, the teams will be preparing some type of virtual slideshow presentation. A couple judges will zoom into the classroom for the students or for the teams to give their presentation and just document how their design process went. And we're hoping that during the process of students designing blades and testing blades, they're also taking pictures and documenting their process along the way, because that really makes the presentations easier for them and definitely more enjoyable for the judges to see how their whole adventure went. And then after this presentation is done, we will send a link to the teacher that has an online knowledge test that students will take, preferably in the classroom, so they're not just Googling the answers to the questions. And then after all is said and done and all the scores are tallied, We will invite the top 2 teams from each grade category um, in both the virtual and the in-person showcase to actually move on to the next level, which is the National KidWind Challenge. So they'll be competing with students from all over the country. I think we'll have students from Mexico this year, so it's turning into an international competition. And REAP can actually cover some of the travel expenses for the coaches and the students to fly to Boulder, Colorado in May to actually compete in the national competition. So I think we had 4 or 5 teams who competed in nationals last year. They not only had to make the wind turbine that they presented in the state competition, but they had to make a second turbine that they put in this little pool here that you see, and they had an offshore wind turbine competition as well. So the Alaska State competition is a really good way to kind of find those amazing student teams who have gone, above and beyond and want to take that next step to nationals. And we can definitely try and get as much funding to y'all as possible so the coaches and students can go to that as well. So at this point, probably stop the recording and address any questions that folks who are here at the webinar have for me. And if anyone who's watching the recording has any questions, feel free to email myself or Colleen. You can find our emails on the Clean Energy Olympics homepage on the REAP website. And if you're not registered yet, you can find the registration link on the website there. So we look forward to training y'all and seeing your teams in the competition.